And at number 10, Britney bribed her parents' divorce. One of the most shocking revelations from Jamie Lynn's book and interviews was the fact that her parents never had the perfect marriage, and their father Jamie struggled with alcohol issues while they were young. This caused his behavior to be unpredictable when they were growing up, and it put a huge strain on their children. Because of the toxic relationship, Britney told her mother she would buy her a house if she divorced Jamie, her father. Her mother did this, got the house and the divorce, and then her father basically lived at the house anyway. Jamie Lynn says their dad was there the first night that the women moved into the new house. Jamie Lynn didn't know how to act. She was so young, she was knowing her sister's wishes, but seeing her mother staying with this man, she was angry, upset, and didn't know which side to take. And at number 9, barefoot in a gas station bathroom. In 2004, Britney made the strange decision to go barefoot into a sketchy bathroom, and the media questioned her cleanliness ever since that incident. While at a gas station in Ventura, California, Britney needed to use the bathroom and decided to just use one at the gas station. Her fiancé Kevin Federline was waiting in the car for her when paparazzi snapped her walking into the unisex bathroom with bare feet. Yup, that's right. Britney decided to use a unisex gas station bathroom with no shoes on. I feel like it would honestly be hard to find any celebrity that would be okay with using a gas station bathroom in general. After that, the media exploded questioning her hygiene, and I'm sure she regrets how much media attention that small moment got. But at the end of the day, if she feels fine going barefoot, who are we to judge? And at number 8, Jamie Lynn's terrifying experience. In her new book, Jamie Lynn describes a terrifying event with her sister that sheds light on the struggles that Britney was facing at that time. She wrote, quote, "One time she said to me, 'Baby, I'm scared,' and took a large knife from the kitchen, pulled me along to my room, and she locked us both inside. She put the weapon in the bedside table drawer and simply repeated, 'I'm scared.' She needed me to sleep beside her." Jamie Lynn describes how scared she was during that incident and claims she experienced panic attacks after that. Britney responded to the shocking allegations on Twitter, denying that the event ever happened. Britney wrote, quote, "I've never been around you with a knife, or would I ever think to do such." Neither parent has made a statement about which sister is telling the truth. And at number 7, Jason Alexander wedding. One of Britney's most controversial moments was when she decided to get married to her childhood friend in Vegas, clearly an impulsive move. Her sister Jamie Lynn gave more details surrounding this event in her book, and Jamie Lynn said she could sense that something was wrong when Britney came home for the holidays. Jamie Lynn describes Britney coming home for the holidays and acting very strange. Britney allegedly met up with Alexander on Christmas Eve before she took the women in the family on a tropical vacation. She wrote, quote, "Immediately I noticed that Britney was being secretive and keeping her distance. She wanted to be anywhere but with us. I was particularly hurt by her shunning." After the family got back from the trip, Britney flew to Vegas with friends, and Jamie Lynn knew something bad was going to happen. Jamie Lynn even remembers telling Britney not to get married. Then Britney just rolled her eyes and told her that she wouldn't. But as we know, just hours later, Britney would in fact marry him. Jamie Lynn admitted she was embarrassed by the whole fiasco, though to keep up appearances she pretended at the time it was blown out of proportion. She added, "At that point, the chaos of my sister's life was just beginning." And at number 6, driving with infant on lap. In 2006, there was another incident with Britney and her new baby that actually caused the police to show up at her home to check on them. Paparazzi snapped Britney at a Malibu Starbucks driving out of the parking lot with her baby, Sean Preston, in her lap. This is not only illegal but very scary, as infants must ride in car seats to be as safe as possible on the road. When asked later about the incident, she blamed aggressive paparazzi. The paparazzi made her pull out quickly because she felt threatened. But the police did not care about this explanation, and the LA County Sheriff's Department visited Spears' home to talk about the incident at the request of county child welfare authorities. The paparazzi also clapped back at the claims and said they were not threatening her in any way. The photo agency said, quote, "These pictures were taken in a very peaceful context in which photographers exhibited no aggressive behavior." Halfway number 5, the family's Hollywood team made all the decisions. Although we are putting most of the blame on the conservatorship on Britney's father Jamie, which should be the case, we need to discuss the role that Hollywood executives had in it too. These executives also made a lot of family decisions during Jamie Lynn's unexpected teen pregnancy. This is the reason that Britney's made a point to talk about the bad job done by her previous lawyers, along with the manipulation by Lou Taylor, who was Britney's business manager at the time of her conservatorship. It is widely believed that Taylor was the real architect of the conservatorship and gave Jamie the tools he needed to control Britney's life. Jamie Lynn herself even questioned who made a lot of the decisions during her time pregnant. Jamie Lynn also stated that the media has been twisting a lot of the quotes that the sisters have said, and the media are the ones putting the wedge between the whole family. And at number 4, almost dropped her son. This was another incident back in 2006 involving her newborn son. Only a week after the incident where she was caught driving with the baby on her lap, she tripped while walking in Manhattan and almost dropped her son, Sean Preston. She was leaving the Ritz-Carlton holding a drink in her right hand and Sean in her left as she maneuvered through the crowd of onlookers. Britney moved through the crowd and then she suddenly tripped. The baby's head then went backward as the hat flew off his head. Britney regained her balance and the baby seemed okay thanks to a quick reaction from the bodyguard. To make matters worse, it didn't look like she spilled a drop of the drink that she was holding in her other hand. It was reported that days later she had a breakdown over the incident. Since two of these similar incidents with her son happened so closely together, her parenting skills were further scrutinized by the public. And at number 3, attacks paparazzi with umbrella. One of Britney's worst moments in the press was in 2007 when she attacked a paparazzi with a green umbrella because she was so mad over all the attention she was getting. At this time, Britney was clearly going through a lot. She had just shaved her head in front of the public. It was all anyone was talking about. Britney was begging to be left alone and deal with her issues while not getting bombarded with paparazzi. But obviously that did not happen and she was hounded more than ever. At the time, her paparazzi attack became so famous that a Florida morning radio host even used photos from her breakdown on his Total Nut Jobs billboards. Months after the incident, she apologized in a bizarre statement, writing, quote, "I apologize to the pop for a stunt that was done 4 months ago regarding an umbrella. I was preparing my character for a role in a movie where the husband never plays his part, so they switch places accidentally. I take all my roles very seriously and got a little carried away. Unfortunately, I didn't get the part." And at number 2, screaming at Sam Lufty. Sam Lufty is one of the most controversial people in the world of Britney Spears, and her entire family blames Sam for her eventual downfall in 2007. In 2008, the pair got in a screaming match over Britney's boyfriend at the time, paparazzo Adnan Ghalib, and this was one of many of their public fights back then. Apparently, Britney and Sam got in a huge fight and Britney refused to go into his house, so she called her boyfriend, Adnan Ghalib, to come get her at Sam's house. He came right over, but when he got there, Sam would not let him get Britney. The guards were under strict orders from Sam not to let him in. He tried calling each of her 6 cell phones and the house phone, but she did not answer. Years later, Britney would get restraining orders from both Sam Lufty and Adnan Ghalib. And finally, number 1, her career was almost threatened. Back in the 90s when Britney was becoming a star, there was a man in the shadows of all the most famous boy bands who ended up scamming all of them. The man was named Lou Pearlman, and he created both the Backstreet Boys and NSYNC. He wanted Spears to join a girl group that he had been working on, but she was more set on being a solo artist at the time. Thankfully, she didn't want to be in a girl group, or she would have been working with Pearlman when the members of the boy bands realized that they were being scammed. He was later sued for fraud and misrepresentation by most of the pop acts that he worked with, on top of being behind one of the largest Ponzi schemes in history. And the members of the boy bands only received a fraction of the money that he owed them.
At number 10, college dropout. These days, the status quo for many of us is graduate high school, go to college, graduate, find a job, and eventually die, right? Well, many of us are challenging that these days, and Pete Davidson is one of those people. Pete is one of the many celebrities who started going to college but eventually dropped out to pursue his dreams. Pete graduated from Xaverian High School in 2012 and ended up going to St. Francis College for a full semester before eventually deciding to drop out. The comedian said that he wanted to follow his passion for comedy, and so he left college to dedicate himself to his craft, making being a comedian his full-time job. He serves as a good role model to anyone looking to pursue their dreams as well, even though it can be scary, especially when it comes to anything in the arts. Like my mom always used to tell me, follow your passion and the money will follow you. At number 9, war veteran. We know that Pete Davidson is a comedian on SNL. We also know that Pete can sometimes go a little too far with his jokes. Back in 2018, Pete was making jokes about his opinion on the US midterm elections, and he was alongside former Navy SEAL Dan Crenshaw for the bit. Dan is a former soldier who lost his eye in 2012 when an IED exploded. This was no doubt a traumatic event for the former SEAL, but Pete still decided to make a joke about it, though it didn't go over well. During the bit on SNL, Pete joked about Dan's injury, saying, quote, "You may be surprised to hear he's a congressional candidate from Texas and not a hitman in a porno movie. I'm sorry, I know he lost his eye in a war, whatever," end quote. Pete ended up facing some backlash over his comment, and even some of his SNL co-stars made comments about the nature of Pete's joke. Dan ended up getting revenge on Pete, as in the following week on the show he got to poke fun at Pete in return. Though back when this scandal originally happened, not that many people got upset, since he has now had his fame boosted because of Kim K. He risks having his past exposed again, and this scandal might be a secret that Pete wishes would stay secret. Before we carry on talking about some of the shady things that Pete Davidson doesn't want you to know about, why not take a moment to leave a like on this video if you're enjoying enjoying it so far. And while you're at it, consider subscribing to the channel to see more videos like this one. At number 8, suspicious social media. The most dedicated fans are always watching their favorite celebrities' every move. Nowadays, celebrities can't get away with much without having their fans expose them, and this is how it was revealed that Pete can be a little sus online. Back when Pete had just started dating Ariana Grande, fans noticed something a little off about the comments he would leave under his girl's posts. An example of this comes from back in 2016 when Pete commented under his then girlfriend Cassie David's post saying, quote, "I love you so much, Kaz, I'm the luckiest guy in the world. I find new things to love about you every day." Fast forward to 2018 when he was dating Ariana Grande, when he left a comment on one of her posts saying, quote, "Hi, I'm the luckiest contest winner ever," end quote. Some fans found it a little weird how he used the word luckiest so much. It could have just been a coincidence, which is what I believe, but other fans thought that the word repetition could indicate that he was disingenuous with his thoughts and comments on his partners. This could be a stretch, but don't come for me about it, blame the fans. Pete could want this to all stay a secret because fans might catch on to Pete's true nature if all that they're saying is true. At number 7, engagement ring. Speaking of past partners though, let's talk about the time that Pete Davidson and Ariana Grande were engaged. Fans were a little sussed out when they learned about the timeline of Ariana and Pete's engagement because it turns out that Pete had reached out to a designer about getting a ring for Ariana, suspiciously soon after he and Cassie David had split. Though news of the engagement broke in June of 2018, Pete and Cassie's split broke the news on May 16, 2018, but according to celebrity jeweler Greg Yuna, Pete had hit him up about an engagement ring for Ariana at the end of May. That didn't leave much time between the breakup and thoughts about marrying another person. Fans thought that this was pretty suspicious and could prompt theories as to what Pete might have been doing behind the scenes. Perhaps this is a secret that Pete would want to keep hidden over risk of being exposed and cancelled. At number 6, Cassie David. Pete Davidson's relationship with Cassie David, the daughter of comedian Larry David, was Pete's first high-profile long-term relationship. Cassie and Pete started seeing each other in May of 2016, and they went through a lot together. As any couple does, they had their share of struggles, but it eventually got to the point where they just couldn't carry on in a healthy relationship, and so they broke up in May of 2018. In 2020, Cassie published a collection of essays titled "No One Asked for This," where she opened up about her breakup with Pete, recalling the struggles that the both of them had with their mental health during their relationship. Cassie was devastated when she and Pete broke up, but because of Pete's struggles with his mental health, she had to do what was best for her and let him go. Cassie also exposed the fact that she and Pete broke up the day before finding out that Pete and Ariana were together. The end of Cassie and Pete's relationship was pretty painful, as you could no doubt imagine, coming out of a 2-year-long relationship, but according to sources, they are friends now and that works for them. At number 5, Staten Island. Let's stray away from the relationship drama and get back to Pete's comedy to reveal another secret that he might want to keep hidden. I told you about one of the jokes Pete made about a former veteran that didn't go over well, but here's another one that ended up offending his hometown of Staten Island. In 2012, a Category 3 hurricane passed through Staten Island, causing destruction and devastation in the area. Hundreds of people lost their homes and businesses, so with this somber aftermath, it probably wasn't the best time to be making jokes, though Pete ended up doing it anyway. In 2016, Pete ended up poking fun at the natural disaster that ripped through his hometown when he said, quote, "Hurricane Sandy should have finished the job when it landed in Staten Island," end quote. As you could imagine, the joke didn't go over well with those who were affected by the devastation. He later went on to defend his remarks when he said, quote, "To be fair, I was raised there and Staten Island should share some of the blame," end quote. This caused him to face a lot of backlash, and though this has all since died off, there's always a chance of it resurfacing to cause more trouble for the comedian, so maybe he would prefer if this scandal stayed hidden in the shadows. At number 4, Manchester joke. You guys might remember the Manchester attack at Ariana Grande's 2017 concert. There was a bombing at one of her shows that caused mass casualties and injuries. It was certainly no laughing matter, but Pete Davidson still decided to make a joke about the terrible incident, and as you can imagine, it did not go over well. Looking back on it, this is probably something from his past that he would have wanted to keep hidden because it was so controversial. In the fall of 2017, Pete made a joke saying that after this attack, Ariana should have realized how famous she was because, quote, "Britney Spears didn't have a terrorist attack at her concert," end quote. This joke didn't go over well at the time, but a year later when it resurfaced after Pete and Ariana started dating, Ari defended her man, saying that he was just using humor to cope with the tragedy. Fans still weren't happy about what was said, and now that Pete has even more clout because of Kim K, if this joke were to resurface again, he could face more backlash than ever before. At number 3, Tic Tacs. During a segment on SNL while Pete Davidson and Ariana Grande were still dating, Pete made a joke about his relationship with the singer and trapping her in their relationship, and this ended up causing more backlash than genuine laughter. During the segment, Pete was talking about how Ariana was the breadwinner in their relationship and how he was just living off her wealth, and made a joke that he was trying to trap her in the relationship so that he could keep living like that. Pete said that in order to keep her around, he switched her birth control pills with Tic Tacs, saying, quote, "Last night I switched her birth control with Tic Tacs. I believe in us and all. I I just want to make sure that she can't go anywhere. This ended up causing some controversy because fans said that not only should Pete not be able to control his girlfriend's reproductive rights, but that it was also hella toxic that he joked about trapping her. This is probably one comment that Pete wishes would stay hidden because judging by the fact that he is currently dating Kim K, people might think that he might pull a stunt like this again. At number 2, Howard Stern. There are just some things that you shouldn't share with the public about your relationship, and your intimacy is definitely one of those things. But Pete doesn't hold back with anything, and in 2018 he told Howard Stern about his private time with Ariana Grande. The comedian dished about the intimate time he spent with Ariana, saying, quote, "Anytime we're intimate, I'm always apologizing and saying thank you. You're awesome for doing this. Thank you so much." End quote. To make matters even more uncomfortable, Pete also talked about how before they were together, he would pleasure himself to the thought of Ariana Grande. It is a really weird and gross thing to say publicly, so this might be a comment that Pete wishes that he could keep from the public because it could reflect badly on him and his new relationship with Kim K. And finally, at number 1, Spotlight. In the past, Pete has reflected on the fame that he has as a comedian and just as a public figure in general, saying that he doesn't always like having all eyes on him. With that said though, some people have called those comments hypocritical because of the fact that though he hates the spotlight, he enters relationships with A-list celebrities. Now that he's dating one of the biggest celebrities, those hypocritical comments could come back to cause controversies, so maybe this is something that he could have wished was secret.
In at number 10, the real reason her residency is cancelled. Adele announced on her Instagram last Thursday that her residency at Caesar's Palace was going to be delayed indefinitely. She announced the cancellation less than a day before her first performance was scheduled. She cried on Instagram while she said that the show was not ready, blaming rising cases and other issues with her crew as the reason for the delay. However, the truth has now come out. It's been exposed that problems in her relationship with Rich Paul are the real reason she is not performing. A source said, quote, "There's trouble in paradise, that's why she can't perform." This comes days after insiders exposed that she'd been crying through her rehearsals and was constantly on the phone with Paul while she was supposed to be rehearsing. Sources said, quote, "Adele's been crying and couldn't get through a single full rehearsal for the past month, just constantly on the phone with Rich, loudly shouting and sobbing." As of now, it seems that the entire residency might be off because Keith Urban has now taken over a portion of her tour dates. And at number 9, a secret relationship. Prior to her album 30 being released, Adele was very open about the fact that the album would be talking about her divorce. Adele had been with her ex, Simon Konecki, for years before getting married and having a child together, but shortly after they tied the knot, they got a divorce. Now the singer is dating Rich Paul, but a lot of people don't know that Adele had a secret relationship before she started publicly dating Paul. The songs All Night Parking and Woman Like Me are both about this secret relationship. She described that the relationship was long distance and was never going to work out, but it was a quote, "great learning curve and nice to feel loved." In Woman Like Me, the song paints Adele's ex as lazy, complacent, and incapable of appreciating her value. When describing this relationship, she said, quote, "There was someone I have loved, not been in love with, but been so fond of and have been for years, but I was unable to pretend that I wasn't in my own storm. I couldn't give myself properly. I couldn't be consistent, neither could he. And quote, I associate him with the breakdown of my marriage. So therefore, he's a part of my storm." And at number 8, family issues. Adele is very private about her personal life, and that includes her relationship with her family. Specifically, Adele and her father have always had a strained relationship. In 2011, her father, who she had very little contact with, claimed the singer struggled to find love because she, quote, "had abandonment issues." Mark left their family when Adele was only 8, and part of the reason was due to his addiction to alcohol. Then in 2017, Adele confirmed a tense relationship during her acceptance speech for Record of the Year at the Grammys, saying to her manager, quote, "I love you like you're my dad. I love you so much. I don't love my dad, that's the thing." Adele's father passed away from cancer last year, and it's been reported that in his final months, the relationship was not able to be mended. And at number 7, hides from fans. Since Adele's been able to sell out sports stadiums full of adoring fans, the logistics of how she is getting around those stadiums without being noticed is a bit tricky. But her crew came up with a unique way to get her around that had to be kept secret from fans. This method is to hide Adele in one of those black boxes that the crews usually move cargo around the stadium. So she gets wheeled through all her fans while hiding in one of those boxes. And the fans have no idea they are just steps away from the woman that they paid to come see. One downside is that several minutes inside this plastic container leaves her dripping with sweat, something she addressed early in her performance at the ANZ Stadium in Sydney, with her joking, quote, "How I get to the stage makes me so sweaty, I'm drenched." Then at the end of the night, she told fans how she got around. And at number 6, secret Twitter account. Adele has been open about the fact that she does not use her official social social media accounts, and her team has actually taken her passwords away from her because they don't trust what she posts. Because of this, she has multiple secret social media accounts that she uses instead. Specifically, she created her own secret Twitter account so she could share her true thoughts on things secretly. Speaking during a gig in Brisbane, Australia, she said, quote, "I was looking on Twitter last night. They don't know I have a secret account. Well, obviously they do now because I said that. By the way, they, I mean my management. I'm not allowed to access my own Twitter because I'm quite mouthy and I say the wrong thing a lot of the time. So they took that privilege away from me." She got the rights to her Instagram back in 2020, but they were quickly taken away once again after Adele posted the controversial photo of herself attending the Notting Hill Carnival in August of 2020 wearing Bantu knots. Halfway number 5, Taylor Swift feud. I'm sure Adele does not want us to know that she has allegedly feuded with Taylor Swift. This is a feud we're not sure is real or not, but it seems there's been some shade thrown between these two singers for years now. After Adele beat out Taylor for a Golden Globe in 2013, Adele made a bit of a shady dig when Adele jokingly said that she is a squad, but they aren't models, clearly taking a dig at Taylor's model squad. Then this year it was reported that Taylor Swift was furious that Adele might be stepping into pop music in her new album. A source said, quote, "Taylor Swift is not happy that Adele is apparently taking a new direction for her next album because it means she could be stealing her pop princess crown. Apparently Swift is giving no help to Adele with this potential crossover." The source added, quote, "Should this rivalry go public, it's going to get messy. It's probably best for Taylor to keep her copycat concerns to herself." And at number 4, she's a diva. One thing I'm sure Adele does not want us to know is that other celebrities think she's a huge diva. Bruno Mars specifically. Singer and producer Bruno Mars had some eyebrow-raising things to say about Adele after they collaborated on her hit song, All I Ask. He of course sang her praises for her amazing talent, but he also made sure to include that she can be a bit of a diva. He said in the interview, quote, "She's a superstar. She walks into the studio, she's got all this attitude. She's a diva. She's like, I don't want to do this, I don't like that. And then as soon as we hit a couple chords that she liked, we started rolling, and that's where we got that song from." But of course, he praised how talented she is, saying that there was a moment when she was in the booth singing when the water started to vibrate. And of course, he would love to work with her again. He said he's just waiting for her to call on him again. It's unclear if he meant that she was a diva in an endearing way, or if you meant to throw some shade. And at number 3, won't apologize for weight loss. Since Adele has had a dramatic weight loss after her divorce, it's been a heated topic of debate amongst her fans. Plenty of fans are happy for her, but many felt that she left them behind and is not actually body positive, or she wouldn't have felt the need to lose weight. Adele has admitted that she feels bad about her radical weight loss, but said that while some fans feel abandoned by her, it's not her job to validate how people feel about their bodies. Since her divorce, she's dropped 7 stone, saying fitness helped with her anxiety after her divorce. Even though fans are upset with her, she said, quote, "I'm not shocked or even fazed by it because my body's been objectified my entire career. I'm either too big or too small. I'm either hot or I'm not. So for now, she's still focusing on herself, not about what people think of her." She continued, quote, "I was body positive then and I'm body positive now. It's not my job to validate how people feel about their bodies." And at number 10, lied about Matt Doran interview. We're not sure if Adele or the media is to blame for this one, but reporter Matt Doran got roasted by Adele fans after it was reported that she stormed out of their interview because Doran did not listen to her album beforehand. Australia's Daily Telegraph revealed that Channel 7's Matt Doran came to London specifically for this 20 to 30-minute interview in an over $600,000 deal. Reportedly halfway through the interview, Adele noticed that he was struggling to express an opinion of his own. Then she flat out asked if he listened to her album. When he said no, she walked off and ended the interview early. Sony later refused to allow footage of the interview to be used with Doran, and he was suspended for 2 weeks. This embarrassing blunder then went viral, with Adele fans roasting Doran online for days. Doran did admit that he did not listen to the album beforehand, but said she did not storm out as it's been reported, adding, quote, "To suggest that the interview was disrespectful or that Adele walked out is incorrect, and they actually went over time and had a great conversation." And finally, number 1, Bantu knots scandal. Probably the worst scandal that Adele has ever been in was her scandal surrounding her Bantu knots. In the UK, they celebrate something called the Notting Hill Carnival, where people will share their pride about being a British person with Caribbean descent. And instead of celebrating the occasion how we would have expected, Adele shocked the world when she showed up wearing a Jamaican flag printed bikini and Bantu knots in her hair, a style worn traditionally by Black women in the region. People immediately called it disrespectful and cultural appropriation. After waves of backlash, she told British Vogue, quote, "I didn't read the effing room." And in hindsight, she completely understands why the backlash occurred. Following the scandal, she says she learned that Bantu knots aren't just a hairstyle, and they serve a functional and cosmetic purpose for certain hair types. She continued, quote, "I was wearing a hairstyle that is actually to protect Afro hair. It ruined mine, obviously."